Ron Morehead. We now have you online on the Edge Television broadcast.
Well, good.
Well, I'll tell you what, that hat is stunning. I got to admit, I am partial to my Stetson, but hey,
I got a Stetson. I just don't wear it. This is out in the country hat.
is your now you're not Ron Indiana Jones Morehead, are you? Because you go.
Uh, well, that's what some people call me. That's not what I'm trying to be. I got branded with this a few years ago, so
Mhm.
been wearing it ever since. You look good in your hat.
Well, thank you very
I
much.
got a Pinnock Stetson with a rattlesnake band around it, 9.5 rattlers on it. I
Well,
used to wear.
tell you what, man, a man got to have a hat in this world here to make a difference because there are a lot of things going on out there tonight. Ron, we want to talk about the quantum Bigfoot, and when I saw that title, I thought, man, I have got to get you on the program because we've had conversations on this show about quantum physics, and so, but man, tie that into the Bigfoot phenomena is going to be an exciting adventure for everyone watching the program. We have people watching the show, and then we also are simulcasting this program on our TuneIn radio channel, so people can, and there are people that drive around that are listening to this program because we hear about it every time we do a program. That is truckers listen to the show through TuneIn. So appreciate you being on the show. Well, Ron, before we get going, tell everyone how you got to be, as described on your website, an adventurer and a renowned researcher. How'd you begin to get to study that Bigfoot?
Well, someone else called me a renowned researcher, but I've been doing this for 45, 47 years now. Since we ran into a family of 8 miles back into the wilderness of the Sierra Nevada Mountains, California. Hunting camp, weren't looking for Bigfoot. None of us were. They'd start coming around the camp and making these noises and taking food we left out for them. And we, at first, were kind of intimidated with the sounds, but after that, it kind of tamed down because we were inside a shelter, that kind of a makeshift shelter, like a beaver's nest, and we didn't know if it was coming in after us or eat us or carry us away or what. But they didn't do any of that, and we didn't have to shoot our way out. We all had firearms. We still do. We carry them up there, mainly for that rattlesnake I was telling you about. I put bird shot in my first couple of rounds, and that way it can ward off a bear if they get too close. There's a lot of bear up there too. We'll go.
Yeah. So you're saying that you were in a camp situation and they surrounded your camp, or they just harassed you, or how'd that work?
I don't think they were surrounding us. They just came in and took the food. And I think one of them got burnt the first night. I wasn't there the first night it happened. Just the Johnson brothers. They're a lot older than me, and they're not around anymore. But I'm pretty old too. It happened in 1971 is when it started. And they went out and seen these tracks up. They heard these horrific sounds, and they seen the big tracks in the mud. So they thought, well, we got something here besides a bear, and they knew that. So they went out. They told us about it. We guys went back up, and I went back up with them. And anyway, that's how it started. And these things kept coming back. Oh, there's our shelter. You got that in the back of your screen right now. Yeah, those two logs. That's pretty good. I like that picture. Yeah, thanks for putting that on.
Yeah.
We go through that doorway, that log on the right, or the left if you're going in, but you throw that in front of the between those two big trees, and that was our holding pen, I suppose. And these things would come around the shelter and over by the stove area, and we'd pack a stove in and reassemble it on mules. It's quite a horrific trip in there, really. I've had a few encounters there with my horse and mules and stuff like that off the edge. It's pretty imposing trail, really.
Did you believe in the existence of Bigfoot before these encounters?
I don't know that I believed or disbelieved. I didn't give it a whole lot of thought. I remember seeing the Patterson film in 1967 or whenever it came out after that. And so I lived in Fortuna, which is up close to where that Patterson film was shot, Bluff Creek.
Wow.
And I didn't think much of it because I think the newspaper said it was just a wild Indian loose up there, something big guy. But I think things have changed now. And I know Bob Gimlin pretty well. And of course, Roger passed away some time back. But anyway, it's no, didn't have any preconceived ideas about it at all. Really, just when we ran into him up there, I got to tell you, it's quite a deal. I mean, I didn't realize how significant it was until later in years. It was a year later we contacted Ivan Sanderson, and he with a 23-page written letter that Warren Johnson sent to him, and he thought it was probably just a hoax, somebody trying to pull him in, and he sent it over to a guy named Peter Byrne in Oregon. And Peter, he had his, I don't know if you ever heard his name or not, but he's quite a renowned researcher, and he sent it to a guy named Alan Berry down in California, Redding, California, and Alan made a trip down to us to interview us. He was a newspaper reporter at the time, so anyway, that's how he got involved, and he's the one that was professional about it. We were kind of just living it, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Wasn't thinking that much about it, but other than it was pretty unique. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, Alan started taking notes, started looking for who was hoaxing who, because he thought it was a hoax too, until he got up there and realized can't just anybody get in there that easily and do all this stuff. In fact, they couldn't do this without leaving some kind of sign besides their tracks. And he recorded the sounds he got a really good recording one night, and he sent that off and finally got a Dr. Curlin at the University of Wyoming to study him for a year. And he attested to him through his forensic study that they were made at the time. They weren't manufactured, pre-recorded, altered in any way. The tapes were real, which we knew that, but until you get a PhD behind some of that stuff, no one's going to listen to it. So that was our first really good, nice thing. And he presented those findings at the Anthropology of the Unknown in British Columbia, at the University of British Columbia in 1978. So anyway, that's how it kind of got started, and it's been rolling ever since. And I got into it with both feet after I retired from my businesses.
Mm-hmm. Wow. We have a question for you from we have several places questions will come from. One is our website chat, one is our YouTube chat, and the other is our Fast Blast email client. This was from that. Kevin from Massachusetts says, Ron, did you notice any specific odor when they were around?
That's what is different. We did not notice a lot of odor, and that's got some, we had some really clean ones up there, or they can make that scent off when they want to, like a skunk. Can throw it out there just to get people away from them, because it does smell pretty bad, I've heard. Mm-hmm. But no, we've had them right close to that shelter too, and never did get a whiff of something horrible like I've heard people.
Mm-hmm. I've paid attention to the developments of the existence of or research of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and one of the series, I think there was a series on, and these people went to Canada, and their cabin where they were at, they apparently had thrown rocks at them or at the roof of that. Have you ever had objects thrown at you?
Not at our camp. Outside of our camp, one of the guys had some pretty good sized rocks being thrown over his head, but he was coming in from a direction that hardly ever is used. And I think maybe he was getting too close to maybe one of the young ones, because there are young ones. There's some small tracks with bigger tracks in the snow. So we know that, and plus I've recorded young boys too up there. So there's family, they run in family groups, and usually when they're screaming or something like that, I think that's what you hear a lot of people report is their yells or screams. That could be trying to reach out to another one that they don't know where it's at, or a child that's run off someplace. Don't really know.
When was the last time that you heard a Bigfoot noise, whether you recorded it or not? You were out and you heard it.
It was actually 2011. I was up at the camp, and I was by myself, which is a no-no, really. No one should ever go in the woods by themselves, really. Unless they really know what they're doing. But I got up there, and I wrote about this in my first book, Voices in the Wilderness, which it's my encounter. I heard these things, and yeah, there it is. Yeah, good show. And so one came around, I heard the chattering, then all of a sudden, bam, something hit this old barrel we had up there that we packed in years ago on mules. And then it started walking around 2 feet, really heavy steps. I was outside the shelter at that time because it was getting kind of dilapidated anyway. So I set up this little tent, and I'd been inside of it because mosquitoes were so bad. And that's when I heard this big wham right outside. And I thought at the time it was just a big tree knock, but it was really loud, like a gunshot going off. And so I got into quantum physics. I kind of backed away from that a little bit. It might not have been a tree knock at all, because I've never heard of anyone that saw these things hitting on a tree. But yet you hear about these people hitting on trees. And I know they do hit on trees because I've got that recorded. It's in my CDs. And rhythmically, they'll be on rocks, pound rocks together. They whoop, different intonations of whoops will tell the other one. They usually do that before they get any closer. And I think they're got kind of a code going or something that how they communicate before they start interacting with you, if they're going to. Why they interacted with us, I think, is because we weren't a threat to them. We weren't even thinking about wanting to shoot one. We kind of thought they were friendly. But you never really know, because you don't know what they're all about. You just don't know.
Do some animals, it seems, have a sense of whether a human is aggressive, evil, that type of thing? Do you think that the Bigfoot has that same sort of sense and can detect the honest intentions or the benign intentions of people that are in the area?
Absolutely. Short answer, really. Yeah, they do. They can either sense it or they can read your aura, because we all have that energy going off of us. We're all energy at the most minute level, so we put off an energy, and a lot of animals can read that. You know, my horse could read me when I was riding him. I could just be thinking, which way do I want to go, around that tree or that way, and he'd get confused. Pretty cool.
All right, question come in. This is from Chris Wilson. Are these Bigfoots from another world, another dimension?
Well, that's all conjecture. I don't know. I think they have interdimensional abilities, and that's what it's come to. This kind of early in the program to be saying something like that, but there have been some very unique things happen to us up there that's unexplainable. And it's hard to tell this to people who live in their five senses, but we have more senses, and I think there's more dimensions. Quantum physics says there's more dimensions. We live in three, and there's a whole lot more. And when religions might call that heavens, physicists call it dimensions. And I think somehow they've got this ability to move in and out from mass to energy and energy back to mass. I don't know how they do that, but I've had too many reports over the years now interviewing people where they say they saw it disappear right in front of their eyes. It just kind of pixelated and went away. Well, that's pretty weird. I used to just write those people off. I wouldn't give them the time of day after they told me something like that. But I stopped doing that because there's just too many people reporting that aspect of them. So I get into that a little bit in my book, The Quantum Bigfoot, how that's really possible through quantum physics. It's all about vibrational waves and energy.
We had Sibylla Irwin on this program here a little while ago, and she works at a Bigfoot museum in Georgia. I asked her a question I'm going to ask you. There's those out there that say where there are Bigfoot sightings or activity, that there also seems to be UFO activities. Have you seen any connection or heard of that? Did you agree with that?
A lot of reports of that, and we've had some strange lights up there, which, in fact, just in 2016, I was up there, and this elongated light, just after dark. It wasn't even really late yet, but this thing comes floating by this little tent we had set up, and we had the top open because it was a nice night, and this thing just went through the trees about 40 feet away from our tent. I didn't know. We watched it for several seconds. I mean, maybe up to a minute. Just strange. What do you do with that? So that was an unidentified flying object, for sure. But it looked like a lightsaber. It was about 3 foot long and glowed. And interesting. Probably 4 or 5 feet above the ground. So I'm not sure what it was doing other than maybe checking us out, because I do believe there's a UFO connection. Yeah, I've seen a big blue light, ball of light come down behind the trees up there one time. It was huge. So it looked like the moon falling in slow motion, except it was blue.
Your light description reminds me of something that's known in the UFO community as rods. Only the rods that they usually say that are flying around are quite small. You sound like you were describing a much larger type.
Well, it was big. But I've seen orbs up there too. So, you see orbs a lot of places. So Montana Vortex has got orbs that you can see, sometimes with the naked eye, but mostly with a camera because of the light benefits of a camera lens.
Yeah, no, that's interesting about the camera. Now, have you seen them with your own eyes, or is it after you have examined film?
I've seen them with my own eyes. You mean the orbs or the
The
Bigfoot?
orbs.
The orbs, yes, I've seen them with my own eyes. Well, up there, like I say, I don't know.
Hmm.
One time, the Johnsons, now this didn't happen to me, but I totally believe them because they're very serious guys and they don't pull him by his leg. But they had these balls of light falling around up at our camp the day before my friend and I got up there. And they didn't know what to think about it, but it glowed the whole campsite up.
Oh.
And that was kind of interesting, checking them out.
Hmm.
A lot of strange things goes on around these things. That's why I got into quantum physics a little bit and wrote that book. Alan Berry, the investigative reporter that went up there, and he wrote a book called Bigfoot, co-authored it with Ann Slate. He says, if you keep talking about this stuff, make sure you keep the science and don't get off into the woo-woo stuff that happens up here. Mm-hmm. But the woo-woo stuff is happening. What do you do with that? And finally, he said, heck, well, I'm just going to tell people what happened. Sure enough, it's been happening to a lot of people.
Ron, I was going around getting some backdrops for this show, for this program, and obviously I had to research you a little bit. And there's one picture which I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was a picture of your wife in a wheelbarrow, and you were pushing her. Was that her? And can you explain that?
Oh, that was at an event we went to, I spoke at, and it was just kind of a fun thing. We're camp out, and yeah, that's what it was. Just
okay.
Threw in the wheelbarrow, took her someplace.
Okay. Hey, you know, this is 2018, man. You know, people rolling people around in wheelbarrows, that's perfectly normal, Ron. No problem. I would. No question at all here from the Edge broadcast, man. You know. All right, hey, questions that are just flying through here. Hopefully, we can grab a bunch of these here. We're still going to be talking about things in your book as well. Doug White asked this question: why is the Bigfoot so elusive?
Well, they have that ability. They are, if they are interdimensional and can go out of sight, out of your perspective, because we only see within a light frequency. Mm-hmm. There's so many frequencies goes on, and we only see within a certain limit. And that's, if they are able to be interdimensional, then they are. That's why they're not seen so much. But we've seen them up there, and it was. Very rare though, because they're extremely fast. These things can shoot like a bullet almost. And you just, the one I saw, the one night I saw one, pretty good, but I couldn't give you any facial features. But he was huge, and he was the one crying out behind me over here to, I think, an adolescent and a female down below that was also chattering. Mm-hmm. And he shot by through those trees, and we were outside the shelter, which was unusual. And that's how I was able to record some of that, and that's what I presented my second CD. I can show that. My interaction with them. Mm-hmm. And they were beating on rocks, pounding the trees, and whooping. And then, but my key here is ignore them. Don't act like you're going to jump up. Don't jump up and shine lights around, because that's what people want to do. They want to see what's doing that, you know. And once you do that, they'll be gone. So I kind of discourage people using white lights. I think it blinds them like it does us, and they just don't like it. They'll be gone. Mm-hmm. If you want interaction with them, some people think they want interaction, but once you get into the depth of what these things just might be, you kind of better keep your guard up, because if they are a remnant of alien intervention into the DNA of a primate, which suggests eons ago, aliens have been here. I've been down in South America a couple times with L.A. Missoula, and 2 different excursions down there, and stayed for a few weeks. And each time, and I know that some type of alien intervention has happened in the past. We all know that because we've seen the remains of it down there. So anyway, it's what I believe, that aliens have done something to the DNA. Here's the thing, too. We all think we're top of the food chain here. Well, I don't think so. I think these things have an ability that we have not learned how to exercise yet. And they are possibly a remnant of the Nephilim, which is biblical, and demigods, which Greek mythology, Hebrew mythology, all that stuff is in our history. The Native Americans say they live in 2 worlds. Well, what do you do with that? What do you mean two worlds? They live in our world, but they can get out. They can go into another dimension where time is not what it is here. Talk about that in quantum Bigfoots too, because time doesn't exist like we perceive it now.
So are you suggesting that as far as the food chain goes, they're above humans?
Yes, that's what I'm suggesting. We have corrupted the earth. We're corrupting everything we touch, just about. These things don't corrupt anything. They're just out there living like probably we were designed to live. They're very, very intelligent, very intuitive. They do have a language. We've discovered that through the tapes that we've recorded with a scientist at the University of Wyoming, year-long study showing that they weren't manipulated. They were, but then the cryptolinguist retired from the Navy as a cryptolinguist and still teaches teaches foreign languages in Missouri. He took the sounds, came out and interviewed me and Al Berry too, the reporter, to find the context. We gave him some of the original sounds. He went back and he transcribed the language. And that's what he did. That's what he did for years in the military. And I tell you what, to have and it's not just a language, it's a complex language. They chat really, really fast, very fast. We knew they were talking, but again, you got to have somebody professional behind all that to come up and say that. More recently, we've got something else that I think is pretty cool. And I got to get some bioacoustical engineer on this one. And that's a guy named Thinker Thunker, which on his website, Sierra Sounds, give him a little plug there because he did a study on our sounds and he cleaned them up even better. And he says in one tone, they can make 5 octaves. And that's impossible for a human to do. It's impossible for any animal known on this earth to do. So that can be corroborated by an acoustical engineer, which, if it's true, that could be the smoking gun of Bigfoot discoveries. Anything with a language, first of all, has to exist. So I don't try to convince people they exist because I get into the depth of it, the different parts of it like that.
Well, Ron, we have at least 5 recordings with us tonight. Which one would you like me to play, and give me the pre kind of intro it?
What's the name of the ones I sent you?
Well, we have the rapid one. We have the Apala. We have the Child's fast.
Yeah, do the rapid fire. That's how they sounded the first year in '72 when Al Berry made this recording, by the way. It was all recording, but he got some really clear ones, and that's what this one is.
Okay. Now, is this recording on, as you see in our background, we have, I think that's recording, the second recording. Is it on that one or the first one?
No, it's on the first one.
Okay.
It's on the first CD I produced.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to listen to is Rapid Fire. And did you take this yourself? This audio?
The recording was done by Al Berry.
Okay, Al Berry. All right. All right. Here we go. Let's play it. Is this one Bigfoot?
I don't know if they're arguing. I don't know if they're arguing on who's going to eat us. At that time, we didn't know. Or if they were arguing over the food that we left out. They've been dealing with us now for 2 years. This is the second year, 1972. And they started all this in '71. Very aggressive sounding, chest beating, teeth popping. You just didn't know what to think about at that time. But they didn't come in after us. And again, we didn't have to shoot our way out. So we just kept dealing with it. And I got excited about it, really, because it became kind of fun to go up there and see if you're going to interact with us or not.
Wow. Now, as far as what I've heard is a wood branch of some kind banging against a tree as far as a Bigfoot communication. Is that sort of the opening one where they communicate to each other that it's clear and then they can begin to verbalize what they're talking?
Yeah, they will do that, start with a brick of break a limb or break something huge. Like it's not like a deer stepping on something. It's a big, loud snap.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what they do. And they will pound on rocks, code back and forth to each other, and that's in the Talk to Us. I think that may be in that one.
Yeah. All right. And let's go to another question here. Is there a difference between, this is from Dreamwalker, is there a difference between Bigfoot and Sasquatch? Are they the same thing?
Same thing.
Okay. All right. This is from Sugarfoot. These creatures are called by different names in different parts of the country. Are they all the same creature or are they different?
Well, that's a good question. Until we get DNA off different ones from Nepal or maybe in wherever, you don't know if the species is what the commonalities might be. So we don't know that. Mm-hmm. They say the ones in Nepal are smaller, and but who knows? Might just been a small one they saw. Mm-hmm. No, mm-hmm. But these are huge. The ones we dealt with up there, and I got to say this too right off the bat before we get out of here. That there's difference in these things. I don't think they're all the same genome. And I'm kind of off on an island myself with this because everybody, well, there's a Bigfoot, they got to all be the same. Well, no, they don't all have to be the same. If there have been aliens here, and I totally believe, and I'm quite sure there has been, probably more than one type. And those aliens, depends on which one messed around with the DNA, because I think they're all doing it. That's where the Greek demigods come from. That's where the dog man comes from. They were messing with animals too, not just humans. And they were trying to corrupt the human genome, which they did successfully up until, except for Enoch, Noah's great-grandfather. That's the reason for the flood.
Wow.
Clean up the mess that man had, the fallen ones had done.
Okay. And this is from Put Yahweh First. This is from our YouTube chat. Do the Bigfoot have 5 or 6 toes?
Some of them have 6. I've seen a cast that a Native American gave me. He cast 4 of them, each right, 2 rights and 2 left by this lake where he was doing a ceremonial, and they had 6 toes. Now, none of ours that we had up there had 6 toes. They were all 5 toes. But he definitely both feet had 6 toes. That could be from inbreeding. I don't know. Too close.
Now, if there are family units and they are interdimensional, are you suggesting they would all appear from another dimension at the same time? Say, like all going through a porthole at the same time?
No. Oh no. You don't. We don't know what's going on with all that. We didn't even think interdimensional during the '70s when they were doing close-up stuff with us. We didn't think anything other than it was an ape out in the woods doing something. We knew they were communicating with some type of a language, but what does that mean? It means something very special to me now that I understand it's a complex language. Only humans are supposed to have sapient language. These have sapient thought patterns. They can figure things out. And if you're going to go out in the woods where these things are, don't underestimate them, because they can be a step ahead of you. And they may even be there when you get there, because I think somehow they can entangle your mind through quantum entanglement, and they may know what you're going to do.
Well, that was actually going to be my next question. We just a few minutes ago, we were talking about whether or not they can sense the goodness, or the non-threatening nature of who's in that forest with them, but can they also read your thoughts?
I don't know if they've ever read my thoughts or not. I've never read their thoughts. No. Okay. But if they can entangle you, that's not a far-fetched idea, really, the quantum entanglement. In fact, it's pretty much how birds flock all together. They don't talk to each other. Fish, when they're spooling together under the water, they don't talk to each other. These things are entangled with a oneness. We are too. We just don't know it. We separate ourselves from each other, but we're all in the same type of box here. We're humans, which is very unique in itself, right? By the way, and that's why I don't think they interfere with us so much, is because I think we've been given dominion on Earth, and you can command these things to stay away from you, and they'll pretty much do it.
Ron, can you describe what quantum entanglement is?
It's mind speaking. In other words, some people say they've got it, but do they know that's just not their own brain trying to work with them? Because your brain is pretty complex. It'll fill in the blanks pretty well. If you think, okay, I saw something out there and it's talking to me. Well, is that your mind saying that, or was it really talking to you? So I don't know that I've had that. I'm pretty analytical, and
Mhm.
that's not a good thing to be around these things. Just be simple, be vanilla, and let whatever happens happen. But some people say it's just as clear as anything when they hear the communication going on in their heads. So, can they quantum entangle you? Yes, I think so. There's one time Warren Johnson and I heard one right outside the shelter, and we thought, well, we jump out this doorway right quick, we'll run away.
Mhm.
Pretty bold, weren't we? Well, we jumped out the shelter, started walking up to where this thing was, making its sounds,
Mhm.
and didn't run away. So we thought, well, okay, what does that mean? He's hiding behind this huge tree. It's a huge tree, and uh, we both got frozen in our tracks right there. I mean, we're not cold. We just
Mhm.
like I explained it in my book, like a force field. And
Wow.
I've heard other people say this too. It's like
Mhm.
you can't go, and it's
Wow.
an amazing feeling.
Uh-huh.
And I had it happen to me up there in the woods one time. I wasn't even thinking about Bigfoot. I was walking along, and bam, hair stands on the back of your neck, and you're looking around. You don't see anything, but you can't go that way anymore. And
Hmm.
until that leaves you, you're done. So you got to go back or go another way.
Mhm.
So we went back. We couldn't. We never did see what was behind that tree, but it was a Bigfoot.
Mhm.
They were making that noise.
Uh, if they're not interdimensional beings, that doesn't that mean they have a lair of some kind, a place they go to?
You mean outside of our three-dimensional world, or what do you
No,
mean?
inside our three-dimensional world.
Oh, I mean, where do they live?
Yes.
Is what you asked me. A lot of people think they're living in caves. Some people think if they're interdimensional, they can actually go through and get to a spot and live
Mhm.
under the ground. Uh, we don't know where they live. We've looked all over those mountains up there where the camp is and never saw a place that we would consider
Mhm.
where they might be. But
Mhm.
then there's, they can do some amazing things. And there's all kinds of places they could be that we could never even get to, probably.
Mhm. Do they always seem to reside in forests, or do they ever make their way towards civilization?
Well, that's another thing. Amazingly enough, uh, I've had them hit my house, like a lot of people reported. Well, hey, my daughter, she saw them 3 times up there, and she's had them bang on her house during the night. You go out and look around, there's nobody there. I went out
Mhm.
looking one night. Next morning, I said, maybe some big pine cones, there's sugar pine cones down
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
Maybe those were just randomly coming off and hitting my house. But no, that wasn't it. I was just bam, bam, bam like that. And you think, who's here? And now that's when you're kind of in your alpha state of sleep, when you're like, we're beta right now, just
Okay.
totally
Mhm.
conscious talking to each other. But when
Mhm.
you really relax and try to get into the beta state before you fall off into sleep,
Mhm.
where you're not totally awake, but you're not totally asleep.
Right.
You're just not analyzing things. That's the time when I think they can communicate with you. If you let them, that's the time when things can happen. It's also our vibration goes down at night. The Earth's vibration, animals' vibration, if it's all kind of on the same plane, it's probably a lot easier for them to get into your head.
Hmm. Well, Ron Morehead, we're right at the top of the hour. We take a 5 minute break. How can people get the quantum Bigfoot and or the recordings? Where can they get those?
Well, my website, Ron Morehead, it's right there at the top, Morehead,
Okay.
ronmorehead.com.
All right.
Um, yeah, that's where they can get it, or they can get it on Amazon. Uh, I or they can go to one of the meetings I speak at and buy them there and autograph them.
Wow. Hey, that sounds even better. All right,
That's
Ron.
a better.
All right, we're going to take you out of the picture here. Turn your sound down. We'll be back with you in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
We'll also put this recorded video and audio links in his bio section as well. Now let's go back to our Skype line and welcome back Ron Morehead, adventurer, author, renowned researcher. Oh yeah, I said you are. I mean you're renowned. Welcome back, Ron.
Did you ask me what?
Welcome back.
Oh,
Hey, I tell you what, we're talking about the Bigfoot and your book, The Quantum Bigfoot, and I want to ask you, when it comes to quantum physics, that seems there's some sort of connection between quantum physics and spirituality itself, which would have and then spiritual events, which I would assume it includes the Bigfoot. But how do we, or how would you go down that road to make that connection of what basic spirituality and what happens within that framework
Yeah. Well,
connected or explained through quantum physics?
when I started studying quantum physics, and I was raised in religious circles. I'm not religious now, but I'm spiritual, like we all are. And I know scriptures quite well, and I started realizing how the laws and rules of quantum physics kind of matches a lot of things that Christ said in the Bible. And anyway, it just, to me, they're synonymous. Quantum physics. Even then, I found out Tesla made this statement. Tesla said, "What one man calls God, the other man calls quantum physics," and he put it together like that. Einstein put it together like that. I put it together like that. It's just quantum physics is out there. You can't get your head around it because you can't get your head around it. You can only try to conceive it, and that's the way spirituality is, because you can't. So I asked these group of scientists I'm kind of involved with, if you're so smart, tell me how far it is to the end of the universe. Tell me what's there. How's it go? Well, they can't answer that. No one even chimed in back, because that's kind of opened your mind up. I've thought that since I was a kid. How what's on the other side of the universe? Well, come on. It's kind of, but that's where quantum physics and spirituality to me are just the same. So I found out faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's in the Bible, And yet quantum physics says nothing is real till it's observed. Well, those to me are the same thing. And there's so much like that parallels a lot of things that Christ was teaching. And a lot of the masters were teaching some of the same rules. And anyway, it's quite interesting when you get to it, but you realize that we're limited in our scope of understanding in this three-dimensional world we live in. We live off our five senses that we're culturized in as we grew up. I'd love to ask a baby before they get all that culture if they could just talk, because sometimes they look at you, they're looking like they're looking right through you. They know something. Their spirit knows something, because I heard somebody ask them, "Do you believe in God?" Well, what is God? God is energy, and it encompasses everything. And anyway, it goes on and on. I'll chatter.
Well, in that theorem you were discussing there, it kind of reminds me of Schrodinger's cat, the thought experiment that
there you go.
In a box is everything's happening, sort of like universes, everything is happening at the same time, or that we may in fact have people that look just like us in other universes. Maybe they behave differently or slight variations. That's the multi-dimensional view of things, but that can kind of go into quantum physics too as well. And you said in the first hour talking about quantum entanglement. I think sometimes those dimensions intersect, or they get close in what I call a thin place. And that's where magical things start to happen, like in the movie The Matrix, where Neo's going up the stairs, he sees a black cat, and he looks back, and that black cat walked right back behind him exactly the same way. It was a glitch as those two were intersecting there. Have you had any of those type of experiences?
Oh, I think we all have. You have what you call a deja vu, where you feel like something's happened before, and yet it's like you're in a situation where this has happened. You know what's fixing to happen. If you just don't think, you'll know what's going to happen. But they call it deja vu. It's like reliving, like you've experienced before. Well, we have, because we live day to day, tomorrow, yesterday. We think of time like a book that you just turn the pages on. But time is not like that. Once you get out of this little paradigm that we live in and start realizing there's other things going on, you can probably reach out and get a lot of things. Telepathy is people have that. We all have that. Just becoming one with what we're supposed to become one with. And that's what Christ tried to teach us too. And I'm not trying to preach here, but my gosh, there's something going on here, and people that just want to shove off and put you over here in the woo-woo camp because you believe in spirituality and quantum physics. That's ridiculous, because it's part of it is our reality. It's what we're living in now. It's not our reality. It's just what appears to be our reality.
Well, let me ask you something. Would you think this would be some sort of thinking that perhaps a mean person kicks a dog, but in another universe that person is that dog getting kicked?
Well, that's who knows. I mean, I do
Go
think
there for a
there's.
second, Ron. This is the edge,
Huh?
man. You can do it.
It's all guesswork, you know. It
Hmm.
doesn't make it happen if I say
Hmm.
yes or no.
Hmm. Yeah. Or does
It
it?
just, well, there you are. Maybe it does. We are creators. We're
Hmm.
designed to be creators.
Hmm.
That's what we were. It's the image we're made into
Hmm.
from. And anyway, we can create, and there's a lot of books written on that now. I'm
Hmm.
starting to get into it more on how that's done through becoming one with who you really are, the energy that's available to all of us that makes us all one.
Hmm.
And that's, I think I get into that in my book called The Pineal Gland, that study of that, how
Hmm.
the third eye can really open things up for you if you can learn how to get the heart-mind
Hmm.
connection,
Hmm.
coherence.
Hmm. I mentioned your wife in Wilbur in the first hour, but does she go with you on these treks, or does she believe in the Bigfoot as well?
She does. Well, she saw one, so yeah, and she didn't before.
Hmm.
But I mean, she didn't believe or disbelieve, but she knew me from a long, long time ago,
Hmm.
and we just got back together here about 4 years ago, and she's got a story of her own that when she saw this thing at this people's house where they live around
Hmm.
the edge of a big wilderness area,
Hmm.
they've been seeing them in the flesh there, and their gardener, very wealthy people, and their gardener actually thought he was being stalked by a mountain lion or bear or something. He told the owner, my friend, and he gave him a rifle.
Hmm.
He said, well, don't be afraid to shoot something that comes out at you or something. Well, he heard this thing, so he reaches up over this little ridge where he was and looks down out through the scope, and he sees the Bigfoot right there.
Hmm.
And this guy is not fooling. I
Is
mean,
she
this,
there? Does she want to tell the story?
huh?
Is she there? She want to tell the story?
Actually, no, she went somewhere, which
Okay. Okay. Well,
she
I'll
went
tell
with
you
her
what, and
books.
there are most of us do have Bigfoot stories. I mean, I've actually got a few myself. One of them is somebody I know that lives in southern Indiana. Uh, was on a train. They worked for the train, and the train had to get separated going up a huge hill. And he was in a caboose and said a Bigfoot come walking up along the White River. Said it was about 7 feet tall and red hair. So there's definitely. I mean, I think a lot of us have seen something in the woods. I always love going to the woods because you always see something different anyway. But it sounds to
Mm.
me what you may have suggested in the first hour, Ron, is that if you're sort of open to the sort of maybe even spiritual, I think is a better term, to be more aware than just doing things, doing tasks, but being aware of all around 360 view of your life and what's going on around you, observing everything. Would that person have more of a propensity to see uh, a Bigfoot?
Well, if you're not, truth is about Bigfoot, they're going to find you. You don't generally find them at
Oh,
all. They find you, and they're going to interact with you depending on who you are as a
boy.
person, or it's an accident,
Mm-hmm.
like happened with Roger Patterson when he got the filming. That was an
Mm-hmm.
accident, but they got it, and that was a big deal. These things are, well, they're intuitive, and
Mm-hmm.
they got some attributes we're still trying to understand.
Mm.
And the
Or,
sounds, there's times when I heard sounds up there that have no, in the daytime, and
mm-hmm.
you've got no source. You can't find the source.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about invisibility factor, the frequencies and all. I wasn't into that then.
Mm-hmm.
But these, one time it sounded like a big tuning fork above us. Moo, moo, moo. You look up, there's nothing around making that sound, but something's making the sound. And there's so many things that's unexplained that got me into quantum physics, because also I remember these things, you hear their bipedal walk right outside the shelter sometimes when everybody's going to sleep. I didn't sleep much up there.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
lay there and listen for stuff. And yet there's cracks in the shelter, there's cracks in the side because of the logs, I kept thinking I'm going to see the shadow of one go by, but I never did see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, because they were cloaked or because they just didn't come that way, but you hear their sounds right outside there.
Mm-hmm. So
And
you're
one guy
saying
did. He
they
sees
have the
one.
ability to cloak?
Pardon me?
Did you say they have the ability to cloak?
Well, that's what we're talking about in the interdimensional. If they can,
Okay.
if they
All right.
cloud your perception.
Well, I may look at an event that happened in my life sometime back a little differently. I was at a graveyard at about 2 a.m. in the morning on a perfectly moonlit night where it's almost daylight there, and there were some other ghost hunters there. And in this graveyard, there was a gravel road next to it. And Ron, I'm telling you, man, something big and fast come running down that road. And we were standing on that road, and we all like just jumped in the back in the graveyard there, you know. But it was still, I mean, it's not like you go in the woods. You were like a road and in the graveyard. So we just like jumped in there because we thought the thing was going to hit us. It was going bum bum bum. You could hear it faster, faster, faster. We thought it was going to hit us, but I always thought that was like a ghost or something. But perhaps, I mean, it was very large. I mean, my ears could tell by the crunching of the rocks that it was very large and coming very fast. Could that have been a Bigfoot?
Yeah, could have been. I mean, I've heard reports like that before. Very sincere people talk about how they don't see anything, but it's right there, making impressions in the ground and stuff like that. So who knows? There's so many things that can be out there and is out there that we just don't see with our eyes. We can only see, like I say, within this frequency of light. And I got my own theory on ghosts too. You know, their vibrational frequency just hasn't gotten to the level of getting out of here yet. So. And everything's a frequency and a vibration.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
Not that I know of. Oh, here's my wife now.
Well, ask her if she wants to tell that story.
Well,
I'm walking out the door.
I thought she's already gone. She's leaving now to go with her parents someplace. She's a little younger than me.
Which story is that? The disappearing
Oh,
Sasquatch story?
the one you saw at the mountain. She's going to be late.
Tell her. Hello. Hey, tell her we want to hear the story.
Hi.
You can't see you.
Well, I know I need to be on the other side.
Yeah.
Ron, get out of the way. Let her tell the story.
Have to. I'll come around to the other side.
All right, here we go.
I'll tell you the story. It's simple, but she'll make it longer.
Here she goes. Here she goes.
Okay.
Here we go. Hey, welcome to the Edge broadcast.
Hi. Thank you. I do have to run to an Elvis tribute with my folks.
Okay.
But short gist of the story is we were visiting some friends who had reported we had a family around their house. I was looking out across the property through some binoculars, came to a pair of trees and saw something interesting and different between them that I'd never seen before. And kind of a lifted, pixelated, shimmery image in the outline of a Sasquatch, as strange as that may sound. Hadn't ever experienced or known of such a thing at the time myself, and was a little shaken, expressed gratitude, went back inside the house.
Oh, it turned.
Yeah, I thought in my head, I'm only going to believe this if you move. And it did. So it turned to the side and it turned back to the front. And then your insides kind of start shivering a little bit. And I said, thank you again in my head. And then went back into the bedroom and told Ron, saw something interesting, but I need to process. And when we told our friends what I saw, they kind of looked at each other. We're all sort of skeptics, honestly,
I'm not.
until proven in a way. And so they looked at me skeptically and they asked me, where did you see this? And when I took them over and showed them where I saw it, then they kind of turned white and looked at each other, because that's where one of them had seen that same size of Sasquatch in the same place twice. So
In the flesh.
in the flesh. Yeah. In the fur.
Wow.
As I like to say. So yeah, there's my story and I'm sticking to it. So
Okay.
I gotta go see Elvis.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Whew.
And Ron has seen Elvis and Sasquatch
Yeah, I've
both
seen
alive.
Elvis. Yeah, they're both alive. I've seen Elvis and Sasquatch.
All right. Wow. Got to get to the Elvis thing. But I tell you, that sounds like a pretty good sighting there. But you know, a lot of people have seen things like ghost or shadow people. So I agree with you, Ron, that this world is full of activity, and you know, by denial, it doesn't really make it go away. But one can put oneself in a cocoon and not really experience. And I think some people have an innate fear that if they see something, then you know they're channeling the devil or something. I may have believed that for a while, but then I thought, you know what, that's not really true. I don't know anybody come out, you know, doing seances or doing, you know, conjuring up demons after they've had a supernatural sight of some kind.
Hmm. Yeah, devil. I personally don't believe there's an actual devil, one entity. There is negative energy out there,
Mm-hmm.
and the Bible talks about that. And there's a lot of things in the Bible have been manipulated a little bit by whatever king was in charge of the people at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and there's a lot of really good nuggets in the ancient texts that we should pay more attention to.
Mm-hmm. Did you say the Bible discusses vibrations?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. That must have been another universe. I was listening to you.
Maybe
In another...
it was. Maybe we're parallel in another dimension.
Okay. All right. Raul Sanchez from our YouTube chat asks this: Ron Morehead, can Bigfoots be seen with infrared?
No.
All right.
I mean, I don't know of anybody that saw it with infrared. Because
okay.
If they could, the thermal imaging would show a body, you know, because that's the heat.
Yeah.
So most researchers use thermal imaging now. And,
okay. How's this for a follow-up question from Raul? He says, which is scarier, a Bigfoot or a dog man?
I'd say dog man. I mean, I would say a dog man.
Mm-hmm.
That depends on what your fear level is, where your scope lies.
Well, I'm wondering, in the beginning, is a dog man a puppy?
Who knows? Something's made it. You know about the Skinwalker Ranch, and
have you been there?
No, I've been over it. I'm a pilot. I've flown over it a couple times.
Can you visit that?
No.
They won't let you in? Didn't somebody just buy that or something?
Yeah. So, it's been acquired now by another individual. So
trying to make some money out of it, probably. Well, what do you think that is? A thin place?
It's interesting because it's a burial ground for the Buffalo Soldiers too, you know, and there's a lot has happened there. The paranormal people go to because just how do cows get taken from the pasture and put into a locked cart. I mean, railroad car. Mm-hmm. How do those things happen? They're able to move through walls. That's interdimensional. Mm-hmm. And if you get into Livermore Labs, when Stephen Hawkins was there in the 70s, I think it was. Supposedly, I mean, the story goes that they had a couple of them captured, but they couldn't keep them. They could walk right through the walls. And I have a theory on how they might be able to do that.
Oh, what's your theory? Sure.
Their vocal mechanism is so complex. They may be able to create a vibrational frequency with that mechanism that would allow them to go out of our perception. That's my theory. Just because why they have such a range, and that was shown in 1978, a long time ago. And you got the cryptolinguists chiming in, and then if this thinker, if I can get that thing corroborated by a bioacoustical engineer, a qualified one, to say that that's true, that's that puts it way up there in the category of something superior to us. As part of their abilities.
Okay, Ron, let's go ahead and go to another one. This audio is Be Apollo question.
Apollo, yeah, this thing was asking me something. I don't know what it was, but
okay,
I may never know. But
so as we're listening to it, it is a question that's being asked to you.
I think so.
That's the frame.
I responded as such. Let's be back and forth with it.
Okay, all right. Well, here goes. Play it.
Right there, just see movement right through there.
Was that you responding to it? Which
That was me.
which CD is
No.
that on?
Huh?
Is that on one of your CDs?
That's on my CD. The second one.
The second one? Wow. And so you felt like it was talking to you.
It was talking to me.
Huh?
I have no doubt about it at all. There was 3 of them in the camp that night, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
3 different voices. One was a small one, and actually, Bill and I, my friend, we was the only 2 there that night, and they started interacting with us, doing the wood popping, the whooping, and stuff like that while we were outside the shelter. Normally, it doesn't happen till you're inside the shelter, but these things were getting pretty bold around us. This was in '74, 3 years after it originally started. And the cryptolinguist says that he thinks, the same vocal mechanism made those sounds that made the aggressive sounds in '71, '72. He thinks that they've intentionally slowed their rapid chatter down, because they have rapid chatter, into something we could possibly understand, but heaven knows what it was. I don't understand what they were trying to say to me. Maybe it's because I was too analytical, trying to read their minds or something.
Okay. All right.
We were all kind of naive in those days.
Okay. All right. We have this question from Azur out of the YouTube chat. It says, are there any reports of Bigfoot creatures being in the Arctic or the Antarctica?
Some in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know how far north that would go,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, there's been reports above Fairbanks.
Do they start turning into the Yeti?
Pardon me?
Are those the same as the Yeti?
They'd be the same as the Sasquatch. Actually, the Sasquatch name came from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
The Bigfoot came from California, from here, Pacific Northwest,
mm-hmm.
Because they have a big foot, and that's what was coined years ago, Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, and here's a question from Peter from Australia. It says, Ron, did you see the Bigfoot movie, Big Legend, that was released about 4 months ago? It's on demand.
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. I didn't know where that was. Is that on Netflix?
I'm interested in Australia, the Blue Mountains of Australia. Actually, I'd like to go over there someday.
Mm-hmm.
And there's wild men reported of hairy giants in the Blue Mountains of it's west of Sydney. So I'd like to get in there sometime.
Mm-hmm. So do people send you reports of Bigfoot sightings?
Yeah, I don't post them or nothing like that. They need to do that on the BFRO.org,
mm-hmm.
which is a Bigfoot site, and it's got a really good site. You can go to any place and find out what's been reported there. And
mm-hmm.
People usually send me sounds, thinking that I'm going to tell them this yell was a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, unless they got a morphine stream of words like we've recorded,
mm-hmm.
It's nothing to me, because unless you see what made the sound, you don't know what made the sound.
Mm-hmm.
We did see these things up there making these sounds, these are big tracks and all that. So these yells and screams and grunts and moans and stuff like that, people relate to Bigfoot. I encourage people to try to find other animal sounds, because the internet's full of them. You can hear them. And try to get classical science into it as much as you can. And when that fails, that's where quantum physics takes over.
My wife and I went camping in Indiana State Forest, and I'm telling you, we heard some sounds. They didn't sound like a normal animal. I'm not like an animal expert, but certainly are some weird noises out there. I don't know that Indiana has a big history of Bigfoot sightings, but I at least know there's a few. But let me ask you, has there been any sightings of white Bigfoots?
Yeah, there has been.
Wouldn't they be easier to see than anything else?
Well, unless it's snowy.
Well, yeah. It's not always snowy, Ron.
Yeah, they would be. I have never seen a white one, but I've heard reports of white ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's...
Mm-hmm. Chris Wilson wants to know, out of the Edge chat, it says, have you ever used frequencies to call a Bigfoot?
No, I haven't, but some people have.
Mm-hmm. Does it work?
It works. You get on the right frequency, and it can be irritating to them, or it can pull them in. I've heard that more than once.
Now, would you advise people not to piss off a Bigfoot?
I would advise them to not piss off a Bigfoot. If you don't know, you still don't know if they're going to get you or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're mandated to not really interfere with us humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we don't see a lot of them, but they're very intelligent. There can be bad ones and there can be good ones. So until you know what you're dealing with, we never thought of one way or the other up there.
Mm-hmm.
They might be bad, but why won't they come out and let us ride on their shoulders and really show us the woods in fashion? never did that. And I thought we were really getting a good rapport with them up there. But again, you don't know. You know, these things are huge, and maybe they know more about how we would react than we know ourselves.
There have been documented cases of a number of people have disappeared from forest situations. I think the guy that runs the North America Bigfoot Search has a book about it. Was it called 411 or something? I think. But do you think that Bigfoot are actually abducting people?
I think they could. That's the suggestion anyway, by a lot of people that never come back. Strange way they disappear is what he gets into. So he's a very good, he's a friend of mine. I know him, and he's not given to guessing at anything. He just gives you the facts, and you can make up your own mind, which is the right way to do it. He's a retired investigator.
But didn't he say sometimes the clothes are folded, and so apparently these people are naked running around somewhere?
Who knows? You know, if they're friendly and you're going to come back and tell, hey, these things are friendly. If they're not friendly, you may not come back, so you can't say a word.
Well, I hope they don't probe you like the reptilians do, man. It could be a bad deal right there due to the size situation. And we're in fact right here. I just saw an earlier question said, "Are Bigfoots kidnapping people?" Overbuilt Automotive from our YouTube chat says, "Have you ever talked to a UFO abductee that has seen a Bigfoot in the craft?"
Not in the craft, but yes.
Around the craft or around the area?
Around the area where they were abducted, and more than once. And they don't like to talk about it. There's something. I know two different guys from different places who claimed alien abduction, and they're also into the Bigfoot thing. So they are positive there's a relationship, and I've never heard of them saying they saw Bigfoot within the craft itself, though. They won't talk about it. They've gone through something pretty horrible.
I mean, it's weird because, I mean, you say you got a Bigfoot and you got, hairy and you got big old stubby fingers. I don't know how they would, I don't even know how they would have tech. They're apparently not wearing clothes anyways, unless their hair is a spacesuit or something. But I wouldn't see how they would be in the spacecraft. I mean, I would think it'd be more like a humanoid than, say, a bear-looking Bigfoot dude.
Well, I don't know. If they can change energy into mass, and if they can do that, they might be able to change into another form into the spaceship. But that's just speculation. Who knows? All this is speculation, except for what I do know. I sometimes say what I absolutely know for sure, and sometimes I say what I think I know. So there's a difference, because your brain will work with you like that.
Yeah. Well, I have a tendency to just say anything, so I really don't care. I don't have any restrictions, man. So nobody knows what they're going to get when they come on the Edge broadcast. All right. What do we got here? Now, we've talked about portals. I see a number of questions about that, and your view is that you're not going with the portal theory, right?
Oh no, there's portals.
Okay. Well,
NASA's been studying portals since 2012.
Well, what's the difference between a portal and interdimensional? Doesn't a portal lead you to another dimension?
I don't know. I've never experienced one myself.
Well, go through one. Let me know.
But I know a guy who swears up and down they've been coming through a portal, and they need energy to do that. They've drained his batteries. That's something else happens to us up there. Our batteries will go dead. I tried to record this thing in 2011. It was right outside my tent I told you about earlier. And I had brand new lithium batteries. I checked them earlier, because when they popped that big pop outside, I checked my recorder and had it all ready to go later if they started chattering or something. And sure enough, they did, but the recorder wouldn't work. So there's something about energy going on with these. I think it takes energy for them to do what they do. So they will drain your battery, or there'll be some type of like that going on. You hear a lot of traveling power lines.
Well, that's so interesting, Ron, because some people have attributed ghost hunting events to draining of camera batteries and such. All right, let's go to. I've got another audio here. This is from your website. It's called Childs. Can you tell us what we're about to listen to on that?
It says child. It might be the child we recorded interacting with his mother. You hear a big voice and little voice. If that's the one.
Yeah, it's right off your homepage. All right, let's listen to that.
I have I have a lot of sounds, and
I bet you do.
I mean, we got hours of them,
Uh-huh.
so I sometimes don't know which ones.
Okay, yeah, this is right off your homepage. Would you remember if that's in your recording 1 or 2?
Be recording probably 2. This one.
Okay, all right. So if recording 2, I think we have that in our background. All right, let's listen to.
Well, actually, wait a minute. No, it may not be in there. What it is is the book, which I have, Voice in the Wilderness, comes with a CD.
Well, look at that. I see the CD in the background. I see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that CD,
like
when you
that.
get to the context of what I'm talking about, this is my 40-year chronicle of doing this.
Mhm.
When it gets to the context of the sound, you can actually hear the sound of the CD.
Okay. All right, everybody, let's listen to this recording right here. Here we go. I think we're going to listen to it.
There's 2 of them.
All right, so who's that saying there's 2 of them?
That was Bill, my friend. There was 2 of us there that night, and we had packed supplies in with our horses, mules, and they obviously seen us coming in on the trail because we found a huge track on the trail. Got to camp. We was thinking, oh boy, maybe because we saw tracks, so there's something going to happen maybe. And sure enough, that's when the whoops and chattering started happening and the knocks. But what we found out the next day, we looked at the shelter. Earlier that year, we had re-roofed the shelter with new plastic, put some fresh, alder on top of it. And by the time we were up there at this time, that alder was dried out. But there was 2 fresh ones up on top, twisted off from the spring. We found it would have been twisted off, laid up there, and they were there before we got there, waiting for us. That's intelligence.
Yeah, sure is.
Believe me, no one's messing around with us up there. This is, no human. This is real stuff. And
All right, alrighty. Sugarfoot asked this question: have you ever tried to play different kinds of music to see if they would respond? I would guess they would like flute music. I mean, that's the Indian type of music.
They might. No, we haven't. I don't play the flute. I play guitar a little bit, but can't get one of those up there unless you want to chance a mule.
Well, you do. What kind of music do you play on guitar?
Oh, whatever I'm with. If somebody else, I can go from country to jazz. So
okay.
I don't play much anymore. I stopped that a long time ago. I used to play.
Well, maybe a Bigfoot come in there and start singing with you, man. You never know.
Well, we've taken music up there. It just, they're either going to deal with it or not. And I don't think any of those things make a difference. I think it's who the person is makes the difference.
Sounds to me like if you go in the forest and you're just a really good person, that they might deem you worthy to make an appearance.
Well, if you're open and you get into that alpha state of awareness again, stay there. Don't try to analyze things. Just be simple. Get where nobody else is, so no one's going to play with you. And that's what you don't want, is somebody pulling games on you or something. So
are you suggesting some Bigfoot could be tricksters?
Oh, they toy with you.
Really?
They toyed with us. But we thought we was tricking them. We was observing them. I think they were observing us. We tried to set up these threads where they're coming in 6 foot off the ground to trigger a camera, and they go a different way. It's like well, come on, how they do? We couldn't figure out how they were figuring that out, but they're smart. They seem like they're one step ahead of you all the time, and that's because we were underestimating them grossly back in those days. Don't do that anymore. I'm open to just trying to understand what I hear and see and what I'm.
So say you're in your camp. Say you got a couple beers sitting on a table around a campfire there, and you go in your camper. You come back out and the beer's knocked over. Don't always assume that it's a raccoon. It could have been a Bigfoot running through there, right?
Right. I caution people on that too. Is don't assume everything you don't understand is a Bigfoot, because some people are so hungry for something like that they'll bring things into their brain that doesn't really belong there.
Right. And that is the problem.
You can't do that. You try to understand all the sounds by some other means other than just because you don't understand doesn't mean it's a Bigfoot.
Sneaker asked the question, Ron, where did you record all these audios?
Sierra Nevada mountains, high, 8,400 feet was the camp's elevation. You have to get up to about 10,000 feet to get there, on horseback. It's about 8 miles into the wilderness. And It's I can tell you where it's at now. 'Cause it doesn't matter. It's all burned up now.
Uh-oh.
It's burned up this last summer.
Really?
It's just up there in July.
Mhm.
Highway 108, Sonora
Mhm.
Pass. But there's been a lot of reports up in there.
Mhm.
I don't think it may be the same family. I don't know. I've heard a couple of guys miles away from us that reported some. Then another guy miles over this way reported pretty unique, very credible sounding people.
Mhm.
So these sounds that we got were right there at the Sonora Pass area. That's about as close as I want to tell anybody, but I'm going to fly over it next week. I'm going down to California. In fact, I'm catching an early flight in the morning, heading down to California.
Mhm. Well, Ron, I'm going to triangulate that and find out where that is.
Well, there's some interesting stuff coming out that I can't really talk about right now.
Really?
And it's going to be out hopefully this next year about that whole situation.
Mm. Well, when I go horseback riding, man, I don't wear the white hat. I don't wear the white hat. I'll put on my brown leather one. I gotta keep this thing clean.
That's what I wear.
Okay, all right. We got another sound here. RT Samurai Looped. Frame that one up.
It's looped because it's a short sound bite, so I just looped it. But it's a cry. I seen this thing at the time. It was behind us, and that's when I saw it going down through the trees really fast, and it just made that sound, crying out, I think, to the two that were down below, which was an adolescent and a female, we believe.
All right, so here we go. He's framed that one. Let's listen to the audio. Wow. So I guess in your experience in the audios that you've heard, are they all similar or they seem to be radically different?
They were really different between 72 and these in 74. And that bothered me because they sound like different creatures. But cryptolinguists, I asked him, I said, I got to know if it was a different family, different something else he was dealing with or what's going on. And he looked at it, he said, no, that's the same vocal mechanism had to do both sounds from 72 to 74. So anyway, what they were trying to do with us that night, I don't know, but they were really bold. We were getting glimpses of them, and they were slowing their vocalizations down, is what he said, to something we might be able to understand. But I don't understand it. I don't know what they were trying to say. Wish I did. So they were actually trying to say something to me, and I wish I knew what they were trying to say. I've had a lot of people chime in and say, well, I know what they're saying. But how do you know what to believe? I mean, they're all telling me something different, so you don't know. Okay, well, okay.
A question came in from guest 279. Says, do your horses or mules ever respond to a Bigfoot appearance or vocalization? You know, it seems like horses are easy to be spooked. Have they ever been spooked while you're on it or around it?
They were not spooked up there. That's a good question. Very good question. Bear would come around and they would be spooked. I mean, they would paw, they would all kinds of things when the bear would come around. But when these things were making their noises, they were just frozen, kind of like they're just frozen with their ears pointing straight towards the sound. So, no, they were not spooked. In fact, we've been out hunting on foot up there, come back and see tracks around our horses. When they, in the daytime, they came to see the horses. What they were doing, I don't know. But
the biblical text tells a story of Jesus appearing to the disciples where he just apparently walked through a door. Is that sort of the same? Could quantum physics explain that? And wouldn't that be the same as?
Same thing. Frequency, we can do it if we could get a vibrational frequency to that state. Know what frequency it took. Yeah, it's what, everything's energy. And once you can change your mass, that's what happens when you die. You don't die. You never die. You just pass on. You've heard that phrase more than. But anyway, dying compared to passing on, your energy passes on. According to Einstein, according to quantum physics, energy can't die. So where's it go? Well, religions will call that heaven or hell, however you believe in. Quantum physics calls it dimensions, and you just go out into supposedly radiation matter, and dark matter is not empty. You think it's empty space, but it's not empty. It's full of, I think, the Akashic records. That's just my opinion. But knowledge of everything is out there, and we need to couple into it.
There's
And you can do that.
there's something out there called the D-Wave quantum computer, and I'm just wondering if scientists are getting closer to the mathematical formula that it seems like it would have to be employed to use a quantum physics to, say, materialize from one dimension to another or through a wall or any other place.
Wow, that's a little spooky, isn't it? I can do that. I don't know. That'd be interesting. Yeah, they're working on that because these professors that I deal with are classical professors. You know, they believe in the paradigm. They're in a box, and it's all Newtonian physics, which we've all been trained in school, and that's all they want to accept. It has to be an animal in the woods, and if it isn't in this box, then it doesn't exist.
Right.
That's unfortunate, but that's the way a lot of scientists look at this, and a lot of people look at it. In fact, you can't get a lot of people to even give this time of day, the professional people, because they lose their credibility at the college where they're teaching. I'm going to try to get this biophysical engineer someplace to take this on, but I've already contacted a couple of them. They don't want to touch it because it's Bigfoot. It's like the Loch Ness monster. It's one of these things. It's no, that'll get me out. No, that'll make fun. And actually, I write about that Grover Krantz, who lives right here where I live now in Sequim, Washington. He's passed away now, but he suffered from taking this on, not only physically, but he suffered in his academic profession. He was an anthropologist at the University of Washington, and he said you're denied promotions, you're denied raises, you're denied you're denied things just because you took that subject on. But he thought it was a remnant of the Gigantopithecus, which supposed to cross over the land bridge and didn't go extinct.
This question here from Gladys Kravitz says, Ron, have you seen the YouTube recorded by a couple broke down in their truck near Clipper Mills in the Sierras, July 8th, 2012?
No.
Apparently, she says that
I would like to see it. You know, they can contact me with any of this stuff. Anybody can through my website. And they can ask me questions. I get those all the time, every day.
Okay. Kevin wants to know, do they ever leave behind any scat?
I'm sure they do.
Have you ever stepped in any, Ron?
No.
That's the thing.
No.
Nor would you want to.
It's different because it's masticated. It's not like a bear. It's totally different. It's just, it's like a dog's. It's like we chew. Mastication is chewing, you know, and they chew their food. And we found some scat one time. So this was years ago. Sent it off, but you can't get DNA out of old scat, and we didn't know what we were doing back then. I think Barry did that actually, and they could tell us what it ate. You know, needs protein. We found some hair too. Sent that off, but that was before DNA was going on. So. Yeah.
For those
wildlife biologist that I talked to, he found some scat this big around. He said,
but it wasn't a bear.
Huh?
It wasn't bear.
No, it was a totally different. He's a wildlife biologist. He works in the woods, and he's into Bigfoot now.
Yeah, I would think they'd be able to make some pretty big logs, just due to their size. All right, hey, for those in the website live chat and those in the YouTube live chat, just put a yes or no. Do you believe Bigfoot exists? Just everybody who wants to, just put yes or no real quick, and we'll kind of take a quick snapshot of that, how the people are responding to this. I'm out there on it. I think there are things out there that we don't know. So, you know, I don't ever tell somebody their story is not right because I wasn't there, you know. Okay, we got a couple yeses going on. Let's see what else we got.
I never do that. I never tell people that, you know, because it's their reality and it's what they believe, and you know, who knows.
Okay, Max says no. Leon says yes. Raul says yes. Overbuilt says yes. Hawk says yes. Me too. Yes. Joey Splats yes. Stefan yes. Max Vogan yes. Put Yahweh first yes. Over here we have Mark from France yes. Me too yes. Sugarfoot yes. Our moderator. Possibly. Jade, that wasn't, no, Jade, no, you don't. It's yes or no, not possibly. Okay, Obama, you can't do that. All right. We got another maybe. Ron, I didn't even give a maybe as an option, and people are taking it. We got Doug White, yes. Chuck in Florida, yes. DC Doug, yes. Sibylla Erwin, you better believe Sibylla. Absolutely. Well, we'll take that as a yes. So that wasn't one of them. Joey Splats tried to take a not sure or maybe not. Okay, those are not. It looks like what I'm seeing here, we've got a yes in the majority.
Well, 80% of Americans believe it could be there. I mean,
I'm
that's
still Jade. Wait, hang on.
up
I'm still hacking on. I'm still hacking on our moderator. Jade, yes or no? Oh, Grandma says likely. Ron. We have an official Grandma in one of our chats, and she shows up every week. So she says likely. So we're gonna put that down as a yes, Grandma.
I think Jane Goodall said the same thing. She wrote me a letter one time years ago.
Okay. Jade has relented. Our moderator has relented. We have her yes. This is kind of like an election here. kind of
Well,
like
some people will never believe it until they have an experience. That's just the way they are. They got to see it to believe it.
Doug White says peer pressure has caused the difference here. Joyce Platt says believing it could is different than believe. I don't know. I can't read that. But anyway, let's see. So yeah, it looks like people need to be aware that when they go out there in the woods, Ron, there might just be something waiting for them.
Or it might be something there. What's waiting for them or not depends on, well, too many factors. I got a whole list of do's and don'ts in my book about how I think interaction should be and how it worked for me and how it's worked for others who followed it. So the biggest thing is don't try to make something happen.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that because you can end up looking really stupid.
I had people blasting my sounds out there, and I had one guy blast the sounds, and something come crashing down through the woods at him. Scared the crap out of him.
Wasn't you, was it?
This guy's a big guy too, but he said, "I'll never do that again." I said, "Well, no, nobody should do that. You don't know what they represent, what they're saying. They might be looking for a mate. Wouldn't that be something?"
Wow.
You got to be careful doing that stuff.
Yeah, and it could have been a male, and he was looking for a mate. Maybe gay or something. But hey, wait a minute now. Elise from our live chat did not respond to our question, so we're waiting for her to respond. We got a guest 279 says possible. Anytime I say a possible, I'm putting that yes. Okay, Elise says okay. That was peer pressure. There goes with a yes, so that's good. And so, hey, all right, we're on. Let's start winding this down with our interview. It's been great to have you on. So let's kind of frame this a little bit now. You're saying that quantum physics could explain the existence of Bigfoot.
It explains the enigmas that's associated with them. People report all the time, and I've heard this for years and years of different strange things, and put that together with strange things that happened with me and the other guys up there at camp. And there has to be an answer. You can't just say, well, it didn't happen when it did happen. One time we thought the whole camp's being torn apart out there where our stove was. We heard these cans being thrown around. We thought everything was being ripped off. The barrels that we packed up there so gingerly with our mules, got them in there, cabled them to the trees. And we thought all that stuff's being messed up. And all settles down. You look out there, nothing changed. Nothing's changed. So are we hearing into another dimension? Are they able to actually hypnotize us all so that they...
Nothing to change. You heard all that noise and nothing to change.
Nothing changed.
Wow.
Now, how do you explain that stuff? There's just so many things that we're not explaining. And, it's not explained. And I think quantum physics probably does that because they're all alternate dimensions. We know that's been proven mathematically through quantum physics. And anyway... Okay. Something's going on. The truth is out there.
I would definitely agree. Something is going on. That is very, very, very good there. Well, Ron Morehead, I appreciate you coming on the Edge Television broadcast. How can people get those books and CDs again?
RonMorehead.com or through Amazon. You can look at them. I got 2 books. CDs are only available on my website. The 2 books I've written. I'll hold them up here. Well, you got them probably too. These 2 books. This is my chronicle of doing this for 40 some odd years, and comes with a CD. Sounds are there. The quantum Bigfoot is what we've been talking about tonight. Yeah, been selling a lot of these, a lot of them. I could just order. Okay. Some more. Should be here pretty soon.
Okay. Well, Ron, I appreciate you coming on the Edge Television broadcast. Can we have you on again sometime?
Thank you again, Daniel. I appreciate it, and I'm honored.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Ron.
Thanks.
All right, everybody, that was Ron Morehead, adventurer, author, renowned researcher of the Bigfoot. If you'd like to see this program again, it will begin replaying the main player directly after the show. Next week, we're going to have with us, it is Kay Carswell from Deception Detection Radio, and we're going to be talking about alien abduction. As you know, we had Chad Riley, her cohort of the Deception Detection Radio network, and so Kay will be on the program next week. 2 weeks, we're going to have with us the Boogeyman, and I dare say that's going to be an interesting program right there. We're going to be talking about Nibiru and the holographic universe, along with proof of fallen angel technology. That is the Boogeyman. Do not miss the Boogie. And for those of you who logged onto the program earlier, you heard my rendition of Boogie Nights. And I'm going to have to go back and see how I embarrassed myself with that one. I'm going to have to go back and watch that. Who knows? I might just extract that and put it up on YouTube. Now, there's one YouTube ought to ban. Daniel Ott for the Edge. Bye. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this log against that tree. That's how you call a Bigfoot out in the forest. And then you listen to see if they respond. So let's go try it. There he is! Go. Susan, let's get the hell out of here. Let's get to the ATV and get out of this forest. Let's go. It's those lesbian Sasquatches.